Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Harvard Art Museum student guide chat. Today, we're going to be talking about embodying Buddha. My name is Tommy.
And my name's Mei, two student guides.
So I think we're going to begin with your piece, Mei. We're going to be looking at this beautiful Thai sculpture of the Buddha.
Yeah, so here are some really nice photos of the standing Buddha. It's on the second floor of the museum. Photo on the left was actually taken by Tommy himself. So thank you, Tommy. And it's really nicely set apart from the main gallery in this kind of shrine-like alcove, which when the shade is up is really beautiful and sunlit and gives it this kind of like ethereal quality, which I really love. But we can take a closer look on the next slide with a better image of it. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's a depiction of the standing Buddha. And Tommy mentioned it is Thai. It was created in Thailand during the Dvaravati period, which spanned the 7th to 8th century. And it was during this period that Buddhism first flourished in Thailand with the introduction of a lot of Indian sculptural Gupta styles, which we see realized in this depiction of the standing Buddha. And on the next slide, we'll see it from another angle. And to me, what jumps out most at first is its very smooth and supple modeling and texture. It's not a sculpture that's been modeled with discrete forms, but instead seems to flow with these supple rhythms. And there's very minimal detailing, just a ridge at the abdomen and a couple ridges at the Buddha's shins, demarcating his monastic robes, but almost nothing else. It's very simple and organic. And I think we can better appreciate the power of its simplicity when we contrast this Gupta style of art with the style of art that preceded it, which is called the Gandhara school of art on the next slide. So here we see on the right a really stunning example of art depicted in the Greco-Buddhist style of art that preceded the Gupta style we see on the left. So at first glance, I think what stands out with the image on the right is the clear, heavy Greek and Roman influences. These divine Buddhist figures are depicted much more as idealized human figures, and the form on the left is depicted wearing sandals. They both have very wavy curly hair and are wearing this extensive drapery resembling Roman togas.
As well as these bracelets here, it's very ornate hairstyles that look so Greek and so Roman to me. It's an amazing contrast to the Buddha on the left.
Yeah, so the Buddha on the left has absolutely no decorative adornments or draperies really concealing the body, and almost no muscles or bones either. It's very ambiguous form and very minimal detailing. And this simplicity was very deliberate on the part of Gupta artists. On the next slide, there's a line that puts this well and succinctly, so we included it here to read. It says, ancient Indian model books for artists stipulated that gods be depicted not as idealized human figures, so we saw that in the Greco-Buddhist style, but instead as abstract ensembles composed of forms from nature, as we saw in the Gupta style. And to elaborate further on that, arms of sculptures created by Gupta artists rather should evoke the smooth suppleness of vines or an elephant's trunk. And so going back to the standing Buddha on the next slide, again, we see the smoothness and suppleness that they that they were aiming for in the Gupta ideals embodied here. And more interesting too, if we think more about these styles' formal differences, we can also deduce a lot about the time periods during which these styles were most prevalent and their differing dominating belief systems. So in the Western humanism that influenced the Greco-Roman styles of the Greco-Buddhist style, divinities depicted as idealized human figures, which goes to show that belief system upheld man as the crown creation of the universe. And here we see in this ancient Indian belief system embodied in the Gupta style of art, the opposite point of view. Here, divinity is depicted as a much more organic form, composed of parts found in nature. So in it, man is not believed to be above nature, but instead inseparable from it and created by it. It's a greater emphasis on a gentle inner serenity, I think.
Yes, certainly. In Buddhism, there's less of a distinction between the human being and the natural world. In Greek and Roman beliefs, as well as in Christianity, there's this idea that human beings are this jewel of creation. And you can see that in Greek and Roman art. The human form is so idealized. We can think of any number of Greek and Roman sculptures in which the human body is so muscular, is so fleshy. And yet in this Buddhist sculpture, we see the opposite. The human figure is very slender, very graceful, like the trunk of an elephant or like vines. And it seems like there's less of a distinction between the human being and the natural world. And this is certainly reflective of the Buddhist belief that any being can be reincarnated, that a human may very well be reincarnated as a non-human being in the next life, and that all beings have the potential to be reincarnated and also the potential to attain nirvana and to not be born again and to attain that really beautiful state. So I think you're absolutely right, Mei, in that this shows us a lot about Buddhist belief. Shall we move on to my piece then, or I guess we'll do this. This is a good
time to
transition or connection between these two pieces. So in the Buddhist tradition, there are 32 very specific physical characteristics of Buddha. And we're just going to talk about 4 of them here. These characteristics are mentioned in many Buddhist texts. I'm sort of adapting these here from the Pali Canon. First of all, soft, smooth skin, and soles and palms and shoulders and body parts that are very rounded. And I think we can all agree that we certainly saw this in the piece Mei just showed us, this very smooth, graceful skin and surface of the body. And also important are the urna and the ushnisha, which we're going to look at in the next piece. These are body parts that are on the head, so we didn't get a chance to see them yet. But we're going to now be looking at this head of the Buddha, which is from the island of Java in Indonesia, likely from the spectacular and vast Borobudur temple complex, which is one of the architectural wonders of Southeast Asia and of the world, similar in certain ways and in its status to Angkor Wat in Cambodia. This was created in the 9th century. And Mei, when was your piece created? It was created...
Yeah, sometime during the 7th to 9th. So very similar time period.
Very similar time period, and very similar history and story behind this piece. Both Thailand and Indonesia saw Buddhism introduced around this time period, and Buddhism became very prominent in these places. And you can see how both this piece, this head of the Buddha, and the piece that Mei showed us are actually drawing from Indian art, especially Gupta Indian art. And you can see many similarities between this head of the Buddha and the body of the standing Buddha Mei showed us. Even though it's a different body part, you can see this same very smooth skin, this sense of serenity, of contemplativeness, of meditation, all very important things in both the practice of Buddhism and also in the visual depiction of the Buddha.
And it also looks very inward focused.
Yes, it's so meditative. We can't really see, its eyeballs. It's really making us, like, I feel more peaceful and more contemplative looking at it. It feels like a very spiritual piece.
Mm-hmm.
And this is reflected in many physical features here. First of all, we might notice the very curly short hair, which is supposed to look like that of a monk. It's not long flowing hair, it's very closely shorn. And we also notice the urna dot in the center of the forehead and between the eyes, which symbolizes vision into the divine world. And we also notice these very elongated earlobes, which is so common in Buddhist art. And the Buddha was born as a prince. Well, he was born many times, but in his last life, before he achieved nirvana, he was born as a very wealthy prince in India. And he, here in this depiction, he's already attained Buddhahood. He's already renounced material things. He's taken off his heavy earrings and his heavy jewelry, leaving his earlobes very stretched, but he's taken off those material things and turned away from that materialism and towards the spiritual world, towards nirvana. And so we see in these ears, these elongated earlobes, the turning away from the material world. And also we should draw our attention to the head. You see this mound at the top of the head, which is not in fact hair, but rather what is called an ushnisha, which is a protuberance from the head. It's an extension of the skull, an extension of the consciousness, really, of this Buddha. And it represents his expanded consciousness and his expanded compassion for all beings. We can see this from a slightly different angle. Here on the right, you have a very good view of that elongated earlobe that we see so often in Buddhist art. So I believe that brings us to the end of our little guide chat today, but this was really fun. Thank you so much, Mei.
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. And I love seeing them here side by side, actually. They complement each other really well. They almost look like they were once maybe together, and now here we both see them broken off in their more fragmented forms. But I have looked at similar depictions of the Buddha standing from the Dvaravati period, depicted in the Gupta style, and the ones that are more whole still with the heads attached to the bodies of the Buddha. The heads are similar to the head you presented from Indonesia. So it's interesting to see those similarities from the two different regions.
Yeah, totally. I think also it's amazing to how the artist created such a smooth and expressive surface from the stone. Mm-hmm. How the artist is creating the illusion of depth, and I mean, not the illusion, it's not a painting, like the reality of is creating so much depth and so much expressiveness out of the stone, and so much gracefulness in a way that's so different from Greek art or Western art. But really putting the Buddha in the context of the natural world and not being obsessed with this very heavy, muscular flesh that we see in so much Western art.
Yeah.
So sorry, no.
It lends, both of them lend themselves really well and powerfully, I think, seen together to this inner serenity and this focus on finding peace and calm and stillness inwards.
Totally. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mei. I'm hoping we can continue this, maybe make this a series on the Harvard Art Museum's Instagram.
If you made it to the end, are still watching, thank you for watching the whole thing. we wanted to make this short and snappy, but still really interesting and fun. So
Yes. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you everyone watching.
stay tuned for more guide chats.
Yes.
Bye.